We want to let you know we're having fun, and we stole this all from silent movie people. Those are the words of Chad Stahelski, a former stuntman now responsible for manning the outrageously brilliant John Wick franchise. Before we first see John Wick killing off opponents via a speeding car in the opening minutes of the film, we're greeted with these images cannoning off a building. Do you recognise them? That's Buster Keaton's The General. There is literally no reason other than to pay homage to John Wick's influences for this to exist. Or is there? Buster Keaton's renowned for his deadpan acting and fiercely excellent stunts back in the early years of cinema, and he doubles up as a really interesting inspiration for the character of John Wick. Keanu Reeves is often maligned and criticised for not being able to deliver dialogue, his mouth and face unable to portray range. His delivery of acting instead relies on movement, an innate determination to conduct all of his stunts himself, even at the age of 52. Throughout the film, despite the physical pain inflicted by his enemies and the emotional pain of losing his wife, Keanu Reeves' face and words never quite reveal that anguish. Instead, he remains hellbent on causing chaos and enacting revenge. His movement is the most determinant force, and typically in cinema, that becomes a problem, a moment of sheer disconnect between the audience and the picture. Except it's never a problem in this franchise. Reeves' deadpan delivery is utilised by Stahelski to emphasise Wick's inability to decompartmentalise his pain. Killing, powered by this immense marksmanship and adrenaline, is truly John Wick's coping mechanism. It's only right that he loses himself in those moments, focusing more on them than the hurt of his wife being murdered. Buster Keaton may not have been an action star like Reeves, but if his craft were to be enacted today, you can rest assured that he would be. Those years of Harold Lloyd, Charlie Chaplin and Keaton himself were years of reliance on movement. Every bit of movement had to be coordinated. You had to be able to tell your story using your body and your face. Reeves' portrayal of Wick echoes back to the art of Keaton's acting. His expressionless face amidst terribly dangerous situations harkens back to Steamboat Bill Jr., a film in which an entire house falls on top of Keaton only for his character to survive through a window. Don't believe me? Watch the clip. Throughout this entire sequence, his face does not reflect the danger. It remains empty and it never changes. And as Wick maneuvers through piles of enemies more than capable of hurting him, he never once flinches. His movement is constant. He's throwing empty pistols, disarming opponents with arm bars. All the while, various men and women fire bullets and launch knives in his direction. Amidst this all, he's still capable of delivering lines like, "Yeah." The John Wick franchise elicits laughs courtesy of Reeves' dialogue, but we're not laughing at him, we're laughing with him. A film so beautifully ingrained in and influenced by classic cinema would obviously look to find comedy wherever possible. Just as it seems like it may be taking itself a tad too seriously, we get hilarious sequences like this one.
Tell me, Mr. Wick, is this a formal event or a social affair?
Social.
And is this for day or evening?
I need one for day and one for night.
These small, intermittent moments between the action allow the film to take a step back and wink at the audience. Among the film's expertly executed action sequences, none stands out more than the fight in the Hall of Mirrors. This dazzling, beautifully choreographed piece of action uses its setting as an homage to films past. While directly influenced by Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, what it really harkens back to, at least for me, is Charlie Chaplin's The Circus. In that film, Chaplin finds himself trapped by mirrors. Its visual aesthetic is a clear influence on this gorgeous piece of action that John Wick 2 offers up. And also, The Circus exists to explore a man being employed to carry out a task that he's not supposed to be a part of. Chaplin's tramp character clearly influences the grieving John Wick. Both are pulled out of their comfort zone by extenuating circumstances, both are forced to quickly adapt to the situation at hand. It's no coincidence then that both movies share an extensive mirror scene, a moment where both characters are trapped by their own reflection. A film so deeply ingrained in its metaphors and imagery like John Wick 2 clearly used these mirrors beyond simple aesthetic. Wick fighting his way out of the mirrors is Wick essentially running away from himself and his emotions. He never once connects with the mirrors, but he spends a lot of time shooting at them, throwing people through them. He's afraid of his own reflection and afraid of facing himself, the same way that Chaplin was afraid of facing his own self in the circus. In one of the film's most climactic sequences, the subway shootout between Common and Keanu Reeves, the comedy of movement is brought forth once more. These long, wide takes are breathtaking and place emphasis on the expert choreography of the action, yet all of this is sent into the background when Common and Reeves begin firing bullets across from one another without disrupting commuting New Yorkers. They hide their guns in their blazers, shooting over the shoulder, unassumingly and quickly. Despite the chaotic existence of their rivalry, this moment once again is Stahelski and his team casting a wink toward the audience. They know what they're doing, and they know that mass crowds running away from violence only pollutes the image and makes it unnecessarily busy. So instead, they insert a moment of comedy to both relax the audience and make it so that the shootout between Common and Reeves can be flaunted with no collateral damage. In fact, even the promotional poster used for this film, one where Reeves stares absently at a camera while surrounded by heaps of pistols pointed at him, is a recreation of Harold Lloyd's 1918 comedy Two Gun Gussie. In that film, Lloyd is surrounded by pistols, and he too stares almost absently into the distance. This is a franchise that borrows aesthetics and modernizes them, creating this gorgeous melange of old school and new. Who would have thought a blockbuster could be capable of this? Even Ruby Rose's character, Ares, is entirely silent throughout the film, and that's an on-the-nose send-up to silent cinema, sure, but what sticks out is her fighting. Behind-the-scenes clips even reveal that Rose, Common and Reeves carried out all of their stunts. Each punch, each bit of movement, each grapple, all of it is conducted solely by these actors. Stahelski assembled a team of actors happy to do their own stunts, much like Lloyd, Chaplin and Keaton did in their time. It gives the film an air of originality and makes the action effortlessly satisfying to the eye. The John Wick franchise may sometimes be mistakenly accepted as a serious piece of realistic action cinema, but it clearly doesn't want to be pigeonholed in such a manner. The aforementioned examples show that this is a franchise that wants the audience to know that it's having fun with its story and action. Stahelski doesn't want the film to exist merely as a self-serious action picture. In the same manner, Buster Keaton had literal houses falling on top of him, escaping through means of physical comedy. He didn't want his deadpan demeanour to be taken seriously, instead employing these bizarre moments of humour to help keep the tone fresh and the audience engaged. The John Wick franchise doesn't just tip its hat to silent cinema, it straight up wears its influences on its sleeve. It gives the franchise some panache, an air of class amidst its brutality and chaotic images.